At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce you to a man who has served on the Thousand Oaks City Council since 2015 and is currently serving his first term as mayor. He was born and raised in Coronado, California, where he was exposed to grassroots politics and duty to country from his youth. He walked precincts and saw the real meaning of the adage, all politics is local. He attended California State University at Fresno, earning a Bachelor of Arts in History, and went on to work in a variety of sales and managerial roles. It was not long into his adult years that he recognized the importance of Christianity and found his calling to be a pastor. His seminary education was at the Mennonite Brethren Biblical Seminary in Fresno. He was ordained at Calvary Chapel in 1995 and has been senior pastor at Godspeak Calvary Chapel, Thousand Oaks for 12 years. During his time on the council, he has championed uniting the community through conversation. He has personally officiated and attended multiple vigils and memorials for victims and families of the borderline attack. Throughout the year, he represented the city at over 80 events and community meetings to reinforce the great things Thousand Oaks has to offer. Mayor McCoy's council assignments have included the Point Mugu Airport Authority, Ventura County Navy Base Liaison, Association of Water Agencies of Ventura County, and numerous city committees, including the Finance Audit Committee, Ad hoc Economic Development Committee, Ad hoc Homeless Committee, and City Selection Committee. In his free time, he enjoys a variety of hobbies, including swimming, reading, and even beekeeping. An avid sports fan, he names the Los Angeles Rams and the Fresno State Bulldogs as his favorite teams. He has 5 children and lives in Newbury Park with his wife, Michelle. Please give a warm welcome to Mayor Rob McCoy.
Thank you.
Well done.
I was thinking about the introduction that I'm a pastor and a politician, and my mother used to say, don't talk about religion and politics in mixed company, so I'm the person you don't invite to dinner. It's an honor to be with you all. I have written statements that the city has put together. Periodically, I'll go off script, and I will apologize for that later. Maybe you'll enjoy it, and you have the opportunity to laugh if you'd like to. Boy, this is a tough crowd. How many of you were born on your birthday? Raise your hand. I just want to see if you're awake. All right, let's begin. Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. I'm truly honored to be with you here today to celebrate the achievement of the City of Thousand Oaks. This is our 6th consecutive year holding the State of the City address here at the Gilbert Sports Arena at COU, and it's always amazing to see how this facility transforms itself from a gymnasium into this event. We're thankful to our 2 gracious hosts, and you had the privilege to see Dr. Campbell earlier, and I wanted to say thank you to the Chamber, Jill Lederer, and also Dr. Chris Campbell with COU, who have made today possible. You can clap on that one. When I became a city council member, it was my great privilege. My very first meeting, my very first appointment was to sit down with Jill Lederer as a chamber. And I had a chance to meet such a delightful lady, and she has served this chamber so faithfully. They received 5-star accreditation from the United States Chamber of Commerce, 11 President's Circle Awards, and they have increased tourism in the Conejo Valley, and she has been the lead on that. She's, well, I'll share with you a little bit later what's happening with her. But before I do that, I did want to say thank you to Chris Campbell, who I had the privilege to do a TO Talks with him. And Dr. Campbell is an amazing man. He has a tender heart, and to watch him after the borderline event and to see how he cared for the students of Cal Lutheran University, I came to realize that he's not only an amazing president of an amazing university, but he's a tremendous person individually who I've come to deeply appreciate. I can't thank them enough for their longstanding support that they've given to our community. We're going to miss their extraordinary leadership as the 2 of them will be going on to future endeavors. And I think after listening to Chris speak, I think he's going into comedy. Man, you guys really are tough. And I just... Jill's heading to North Carolina, and she had met her husband, I believe, in North Carolina, or he's from North Carolina when she was working for Domino's. And she has faithfully served our community and is going to enjoy a much-deserved retirement. And so thank you to the 2 of them, and let's give them a round of applause. Our city is also going through some transitioning with some of the roles that some senior folks have. And two in particular, this year we're announcing the retirement of Jay Spurgeon, who leaves the Public Works Department after 18 years with the city. His fingerprints are on some of the most important projects that define Thousand Oaks. We also bid farewell to our cultural director, Barry McCoy. Barry brought a wealth of knowledge and enthusiasm to his role, which has secured a bright future for our theaters and programming. This is one of the areas where I'm going to go off script a bit. I was on an airplane flight leaving LAX at 5 a.m. when my phone started to light up with some of the most caustic emails I've ever received, calling for the immediate resignation or firing of our chief of police as a result of an event that had been postponed and then canceled. I read these and I thought I couldn't think that they were speaking of our chief of police. This is one of the most amazing men I've ever had the privilege to know. Unsolicited, I immediately put together a text, an email, and sent it to the city manager, wanting a public statement of my support of our chief. I will say this, that I began to receive some of these caustic emails, and I understand people were hurt. But the reality of it is, there was confusion. And one man was put in the crosshairs. A man whose life has been one of service and faithfulness. A man who's my dear friend. Folks said, you support him, it's going to be the end of your political career, as many of you know I'm a conservative. I could care less. If I lose my political future as a result of standing behind one of the most honorable men I've ever met, I will never look back for the rest of my life with a day of regret, because Tim Hagel is the finest police chief we could have ever asked for in this city. Tim, they love you, and that took a minute of my time from that ovation, and I'm a little upset at you right now. Chief Hagel's going to be retiring, and tonight we'll have a wonderful announcement. Stay tuned. I'd also like to thank my fellow colleagues on the City Council. Mayor Pro Tem Al Adam, Councilmember Ed Jones, Councilmember Claudia Bill de la Peña, Councilmember Bob Engler. I'm blessed to work with these folks. Great ideas are not forged in isolation of similarity, but community and diverse opinion must compete and do it in a manner that's civil. We are ideologically opposed in many areas, but we get along swimmingly because there's civility. I am honored to work with these folks. We have one of the finest city councils, and I'm privileged to be a part of that. And I wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you, especially you, Claudia. Stay with the photo behind me. I do want to go off script on this. Claudia, when I was brand new city council member, asked me to attend a rally at the mosque off of Borchard. The president had done an executive order on immigration, and she'd asked the council members to come. I was a little nervous about that. It was a Sunday. I preached 2 services on Sunday. She'd invited the council to come. I was going to honor her. I came. When I was across the street, I realized that most of the people that were there probably weren't folks that had voted for me. Okay, that must be you. I remember picking up the phone and calling my wife and saying, honey, she didn't answer. I said, honey, I'm going to miss you. No, I'm kidding. I was a bit nervous, to say the least. And I remember saying, you know, that's what I do. I pray. I said, God, would you send me a friend? And I looked to my right, and there was a man named Samir. He says, I'm so glad you've come today. And I said, I'm happy to be here. And he says, let me walk you across the street to meet the imam. So we crossed Borchard, avoided the traffic, got there. I met the imams. Claudia made me feel so welcome. She put a name badge on me, Samir looked at it, and he said, "You're Rob McCoy?" And I said, "Yes, I am. And you're not who I thought you were, and I hope I'm not who you thought I was." He says, "No." I thought that day was so remarkable, Claudia, that you had asked me to stretch myself. And I think that's what makes the council so special, is that great ideas are forged in diversity and to be challenged and to step out of our comfort zones. Community is common unity. In isolation, that's where we have desolation. We need to get along and step outside of our comfort zones. That was a remarkable day, and you taught me a lot about the City Council, and you truly are a great colleague to work with, and I thank you for your service. You didn't clap because you want me to keep going. I will. All right. Of most importance, I'd like to thank my family who's here today. Without their support, I wouldn't be able to achieve the goals and priorities for our wonderful city. In the picture there with me, that beautiful lady is not my daughter. That is my wife, Michelle. I think the luckiest people in the world are the folks that have Michelle as a friend. Anyone who's met her thinks she's so sweet, but I know the truth. She is not. At night when I sleep, she connects tubes to my body and steals my youth and transfers her fat. All right, let's move on. That was off script. Sorry. Finally, I'd like to extend my thanks to the residents of this wonderful city for having the confidence in me to help me lead this city and maintain all that we are so proud of. It's been an honor to serve as your 55th mayor. Now let's reflect on how far we've come in 2019. As we know, 18 was a tough year. After two of the lowest points in the city's history took place within hours of each other last year, the city's made significant strides in the healing process. As a community, many of us feel and see the impacts of that fateful November every single day. The council priority was to provide a central location for everyone to remember, grieve, and begin the healing process. And within months of the tragedy, the Healing Garden was designed with thoughtful detail and opened on the one-year anniversary of the borderline tragedy. The dedication ceremony drew hundreds of people. Families of the 12, survivors and their families, friends, and the community joined united in this space to share memories, tears, joy, and hope. What a remarkable day that was. The garden represents the lives that were taken, those that survived, and the hope that lives on within each of us. I'd like us all to take a moment to recognize an amazing man, Jim Friedel and his team at the CRPD, who took ownership of this project and put great pride and love into every single detail. And I'd ask them to now stand, and we could give them a round of applause. With that hope, we've also begun healing and recovering from the Woolsey and Hill fires that tore through our community and caused tremendous property damage and loss. In the weeks following the fires, the city created a fire recovery concierge program to assist property owners in recovering and rebuilding as quickly as possible. 21 building permits had been applied for and to rebuild not just a home or building, but a future here in Thousand Oaks. Another major recovery effort involved the city's legal team. This is pretty remarkable. Through a contentious litigation process, we were able to recover $3.4 million from SCE to help replenish taxpayer dollars used to clean up and repair city facilities from the damages caused by the Woolsey fire. As a city, these disasters allowed for the creation and implementation of new procedures resulting in improvements to city operations during emergency situations. There's no book for what we went through, but our first responders and our city personnel did such an amazing job, and now they have learned and we're prepared for any other that would come in the future, and God forbid that would ever occur. Through the last year, the resounding theme has been to keep moving forward. The resiliency of the city staff has been no exception. Their daily work has resulted in impressive accomplishments in all areas. We celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Civic Arts Plaza with great reflection on how far we've come and where we're headed. The Bank of America Performing Arts Theater hosted the national tour of the Book of Mormon in July of 2019, which sold over $1.1 million in ticket sales over 8 performances, and now holds the title of highest grossing engagement in the venue's 25-year history. The Bank of America Performing Arts Theater also underwent an extensive remodel that allows for better guest experience, an elevated artist experience, and best of all, the continued legacy of world-class performances in our own backyard. Our libraries have had an impressive year, showcasing their ability to engage the community of all ages and demographics. In September, the Brimhall Library opened its brand new teen space, and you can see a picture there, and I think most of the kids in that picture were Grant's grandkids. Or great-grandkids. It was designed by teens for teens. The project was a direct result of conversations staff had with teens who said they were looking for more places they could study and work with friends. Many of you have noticed new crosswalks, bike paths, new median landscaping around town. These improvements are all part of the ongoing effort to both beautify our city and make it easy as possible to move around the town. Our Public Works Department has also been working on fire mitigation strategies to include a herd of 400 goats that consume 20 acres of highly flammable vegetation. This type of program eliminates chemical treatment and costs 1/3 of what traditional labor would cost. And like what they put here, these are not your yoga goats, although they are equally as photogenic. The tremendous cost of energy in California has resulted in a need to evaluate our city's energy consumption. The City Council approved a municipal energy action plan to address energy use at city facilities and for city operations, which established a goal for energy use reduction by 15% over the next 5 years. None of these accomplishments would be possible if it weren't for the city's dedication to extraordinary fiscal management. Active budget engagement resulted in hundreds of citizens connecting with the budget process. We once again adopted a balanced budget, making it possible to continue to provide the best service to our citizens at the best possible cost. In a city with such strength and resiliency, it is no surprise it has become a hub for industry as innovative and forward-thinking as biotech. Companies working on cutting-edge medical technology have chosen Thousand Oaks as their home and have set roots that will grow for years to come. Amgen, a longtime staple in our community, continues to be the largest employer in the city and largest employer in Ventura County. There's also a newer generation of biotech. These companies are blossoming in the city. For example, Ataro Biotherapeutics started here in Thousand Oaks and in a few short years grew from 5 to more than 200 employees with plans of additional expansion. And this is exciting. Moreover, Westlake Village BioPartners now brings over $320 million in venture capital funding to support biotech-related investments to our area, and the hope is that this would be a biotech corridor. As a city goal and council priority, we continue to make strategic and intentional efforts to support a thriving biotech industry in Thousand Oaks. With all the innovations and development in our community, there's a need for more places where people can relax, enjoy cultural activity, and of course take pictures for their Instagram. I didn't write that. The Civic Arts Plaza has been the cultural heart of the city for 25 years, providing world-class entertainment in beautifully remodeled facility. A council priority this year was to solidify the start of a campus master plan to bring even more life to the plaza. The plan highlights the best features of the current design and works to better implement accessibility and expanded use. Establishing a strong sense of community is a key to building a happy city. In many places, this is accomplished through the creation of a central meeting place that facilitates public events, favors pedestrians, and provides shopping and services to our residents. I'd like to leave on that picture and just state this, that had we had this location after the borderline shooting, there would have been a place for people to gather and grieve. But yet they had to gather on a corner of a street, holding traffic, trying to find a place where they could gather as a community in a central location. And I want to commend the city staff and my fellow colleagues on the council for this forward-thinking idea and to make this city center the heart of the city of Thousand Oaks. And I want to applaud both Mayor Pro Tem Al Adam and Council Member Claudia Bill de la Peña for all the hard work to put that together. Thank you so much. Establishing a strong sense of community is key to building a happy city. In many places, this is accomplished through the creation of a central meeting place, as we said earlier. Our campus master plan is poised to meet those goals and ensure enjoyment for generations to come. The city has faced many changes and trials, both natural and man-made. Now we face one more. It's one of the biggest challenges of all for our city: planning the use of our land for the future. Our current general plan was adopted in 1970. I was 6 years old. This blueprint for our city has served us well. Nevertheless, it's 50 years old and in need of a comprehensive update. Virtually every sector, both public and private, has dramatically changed over the course of the last 50 years. Environmental regulations, transportation, and the automotive industry, the internet, technology, medicine, housing, and real estate have all dramatically changed and evolved over the past half-century. A comprehensive general plan update that engages the whole community, business, educational, residential, is essential to creating the vision for the next 25 years to come. Your guidance, and I say yours because this is not the council's update of the master plan, this is the community's. Your guidance and input on where you want to see Thousand Oaks in the future is a driving force behind the update. Our city will continue to transform around us, and the general plan will guide the transformation to a place where the community can continue to be vibrant and thriving. I share this, and it's important before we go to the next segment. The more we have conversation in relation to the master plan, the more we're going to step out of our comfort zones and our isolated opinions and desires of what we want. This is for generations to come, and it requires that we all participate. And I want to thank the community for your fervent participation to this point and continued, and I look forward to what you all have to share and what we will come up with. And that brings me to another point in the State of the City address. I had the privilege to put together a TO Talk series. They ask each mayor when he becomes mayor what they want to do, and I said, I want to get to know this city better. I want to understand the crown jewels of the city, and I want to meet some folks I've never had the privilege to meet, and I want to do it in a video series. I had the chance to meet a World War II veteran, D-Day survivor. I had the chance to sit with Dr. Campbell. I got to go to the Rams headquarters. I got to meet one of the most amazing music producers. It was a remarkable adventure. I created TO Talks, a brief video segment highlighting the best that our community has to offer. And I wanted to say thank you to the incredible TOTV crew, both Richard and Carl and their team. They made me look like Hugh Hauser when they were dealing with the Pee Wee Herman, but I have to say they did such a great job. And here's a clip of it. Let's take a look at TO Talks. Hi, I'm Mayor Rob McCoy, your host for the City of Thousand Oaks new series, TO Talks. Whether you're a longtime resident or brand new to this amazing community, you'll want to tune in for a fun and fresh look at the stories behind unique people and places in our town. From community leaders to little-known gems, TO Talks will take you on a journey through what makes Thousand Oaks such a wonderful place to live, work, and have fun. Now, your first graduate was 1964, the year the city was incorporated.
That's right.
These two institutions have grown up together and had just a partnership from day one.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. It's the way I think of it too, that I always believe that the university would not have had the success that it's had if it weren't in the city of Thousand Oaks. And I'd like to hope that the city to some degree thinks the university's been an asset too.
Today, we're going to be taking a look at a real crown jewel of the Conejo Valley, the Acorn newspaper. And with me today is Kyle Jory, the editor of the Thousand Oaks Acorn.
I love that feeling of what can I share with our audience today that they might not know about? What are they going to learn about that's going to get them involved?
The relief efforts had over 25,000 people
That's remarkable.
participate. I've never seen anything like it in my entire career.
How much money was raised?
$4,075,000 was raised in response to the tragedy at Borderline.
Okay.
$4,076,000 for the Hill and Woolsey fire, plus an additional $550,000 to help our undocumented and farm working community.
You were in a B-26 Marauder, is that correct?
Yes.
So it was a twin engine.
Twin engine, same engine as the P-47. I represent the 16 million who all went, whether you're inducted or you volunteered, that's the material. You're a band of brothers. But I want the young people to understand that if it weren't for that group, this country would be a different country.
But there's been a partnership with the City of Thousand Oaks and with many mansions to provide these units in our community. And you look around, I mean, people think low-income housing is dilapidated. I mean, this is beautiful.
Yeah, our first partner was the City of Thousand Oaks, and they have been supporting us ever since. They have contributed over $20 million toward their construction or redevelopment.
And that's a good 40-year partnership.
You know, my grandfather gave 75 acres originally to Casca, which was done on a handshake with Tex Ward, who was then the general manager of Conejo Rec and Park District. And, you know, he always felt like it was important to set aside some of that open space for future generations to see. And then it just made sense to donate what was left of the ranch to the Park District, because we already had that relationship. And it turned out it was an integral part of the ring of open space around Thousand Oaks.
Absolutely.
And it's a great resource really for the community.
It's just so awesome, like the area where we live, we have so much open trails over here, like especially for mountain bikers, hikers, horseback riders.
Did you hear that? Get outside and enjoy it. So you guys ready for a cool ride? Let's go, take it away. And then you set up a course right here, which is?
Sapwe Trails Disc Golf Course.
Now, in the world of disc golf, this is a pretty resplendent course.
It is, it's a gem. We've got 4 par 4s on the course and a par 5, so it's pretty unique for Southern California in particular.
Another hidden gem in the Conejo Valley, Sapwe Trails.
So like if I were a kid again, just enjoy your time. Like skateboarding is like, it's so fun. It creates so much like valuable experiences and relationships. Just enjoy it. And if it takes you somewhere, awesome.
In Thousand Oaks, people don't realize this, we have some of the greatest artists coming into this studio to record albums. That's beautiful.
That was a song called Bubbly. It took a couple of hours to make that song. We had no idea that it was going to be this worldwide smash.
And it was. And it was, yeah. I love it.
It was 19 weeks at #1, and yeah, we still not sure how that happened really.
When the Rams came from St. Louis to Los Angeles, you guys were scrambling to find a place to locate, especially for your training facility. And the City of Thousand Oaks partnered with COU and the Rams, and we moved mountains, and it was so exciting to have you guys come and create your practice facility right in Thousand Oaks.
We couldn't have done it without you guys. Honestly, we were in a situation where we were very fortunate to be able to come back home. But we needed a place to land, and you welcomed us with open arms.
Well, it's been a pleasure meeting with Ronald Lee today on TO Talks. Here we are at the Rams headquarters. Folks, support this amazing team, and I have to say thank you on behalf of the grateful citizens of Thousand Oaks.
Thank you.
For making your practice facility with us locally, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks for welcoming us.
All right. You heard the joke, a mayor and a pastor going to a bar? I'm just kidding, that's me. Anyways.
We love it here, and our kids go to school here, out here, our wives teach here. We just thought it was something that Thousand Oaks needed.
As I wrap up my comments today, I wanted to close with a call to action for the coming year. As I referenced earlier in my speech, we're in the midst of a time of great opportunity. And while it might not always seem so in our busy daily lives, we're at a critical juncture as a community. We've done an amazing job building this place. In many ways, it's a model for sustainable California city. Amazing parks, open space, homes to Fortune 100 biotech companies, strong physical health. We're the top 1% of cities in our state. We have world-class law enforcement, and I wanted to say thank you to all of you. We're amongst the safest cities in the nation. We have a high quality of municipal services and infrastructure. But despite this bounty, and this is important to note, there are macroeconomic trends that present real challenges to our continued prosperity. When I chat with residents in our community, one of the most frequent refrains I hear is how much they love our quality of life in Thousand Oaks. It's after all why so many of us moved here in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We were chasing that quality of life that seems to have been eroded elsewhere in the state. In my view, true quality of life is comprised of three key ingredients: the environment, jobs, and housing. When in balance, a vast majority of residents are able to live relatively close to their job, enjoy the natural beauty of their surroundings. But today there's a stark economic reality for many individuals and families in our area. They're commuting long distances for jobs, and they are unable to find entry-level housing to set roots in our community. Quite frankly, we are not providing them the opportunity that many of us were fortunate to experience. This current state of affairs has real implications for Thousand Oaks, Ventura County, and the state of California. Our freeways are clogged not because of growth per se, but because of housing and job imbalance. People leave to go to work, and people come in to go to work, and the traffic crosses one another, and the freeways are full. In our passion for protecting this special place, we have disrupted the balance of these three key ingredients. I don't think it was purposeful. It evolved with the purest of intentions. We raced to preserve over 15,000 acres of open space that is the envy of communities across the country, as Wyatt McCoy pointed out, and his family was so instrumental in establishing. We built 60 parks and facilities across our 56 square miles. We have a growing bounty of high-wage jobs in varying sectors, with more on the way. But we have become anemic in entry-level housing. The valuation of our single-family homes makes them virtually unattainable for someone in their late 20s or early 30s, the age that many of you purchased your homes. We need to address this missing middle and establish stepping stones to decent entry-level housing for our community. Housing fulfills the basic human need for shelter, contributes to our well-being and health, supports the economic vitality of our city, and is critical to helping maintain the high quality of life we have come to enjoy. Now let me be clear, and this is important. I'm not talking about growth on the order of communities in the valley. I hear that endlessly. Nothing like west side of LA or Silicon Valley. We need balanced growth along the 101 corridor, scaled for Thousand Oaks, that will add housing and will address growth vacancies in commercial and retail properties. We also need a central gathering place at our city's core, as envisioned in the Civic Arts Plaza's campus master plan. Therefore, charting a course forward is going to require creativity, open minds, respect for our past, and an eye towards the future. I was given a quote at the end of a Chinese proverb, but I thought of one that really reflects on my vision and my thought for the city. A city grows great whose citizens plant trees of the shade that they will never know. You see, we're not thinking immediately, we're thinking for the future. We're a selfless community, and we prove that following the borderline shooting, the Woolsey and Hill fires. This is the most generous community in all of California. We care about people. We care about our children and their futures. Our responsibility is not for the now, but for the future. This is the general plan update. We're not going to be around when most of this is implemented. We're planting trees of whose shade we'll never know. And we do that for the younger generation. We have to be mindful of that those three concentric circles will create a quality of life that you not only can live here, work here, but also recreate here. A place so beautiful that it'll be the envy of all of California. But we need houses. We need an opportunity for these businesses to flourish and these younger folks to live. I think the idea is selflessness. On November 7th, and I'll close with this last thought, on November 7th, the one-year anniversary of the borderline shooting, I was burdened with that week as the mayor. They say the two most exciting days of your life is when you buy a boat and you sell it. I would say the two most exciting days of your life, or the two happiest days of your life, is when you become mayor, and then you no longer have to be mayor. I was burdened by that day. I knew we'd have the dedication of the freeway to Officer Gilas on the day before, and then on the 7th, I knew there'd be three events, one for the family members of the victims, And then the second service for the survivors and their friends and families. And then the final service for all in the community that would come out to remember that and dedicate the healing garden. But on the 7th, it was a critical day for me. I don't know that many people in the room know this. I had conferred with the city manager as I was in the final negotiations to accept a job elsewhere. I was going to submit my resignation based on the final decision that was required November 7th. And I would be stepping out of my role as a city council member. I was burdened with that decision. I was troubled as it would take me out of the state I love and the city that I'm committed to. I was touched that day when we dedicated the freeway to Officer Gilas. I saw the law enforcement, my heart went out. The difficult job as they hold that line day in and day out to keep us safe. The following day, as I was with the family members, many that I'd come to know dearly, as we've spent many times crying together. And then as I spent time with the survivors and saw the future of these young people that had survived the most awful seminal attack in the history of our city, never to be repeated again, but never to be forgotten, I saw their resilience as they began to talk about how it's inspired them to make the most of their life. I was tired, and I went into the tent where the families had gathered, collecting my thoughts for what would be the largest gathering that day and wondering whether or not I'm to take this job. As a minister, I was also preparing for my Sunday service, and I was looking at the passage that I would be teaching on that Sunday. I was burdened. I love the city. At that time, my wife came in, lifted my spirits, and she brought my daughter and my 3 grandkids. I don't care what your grandkids look like, mine are the most beautiful. My oldest grandchild, my grandson Oliver, came up and said, Obi, that's my cool name. He calls me Obi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's my young Padawan. He says, Obi, you want to hear what I memorized for my speech contest? I said, sure. And he's 5 years old. I'm thinking it'll take all of a minute. And he got a sentence. I want you to hear what he shared with me. Come on up here, Oliver. So what was interesting is he began to share this, and it was verbatim what I had been reading for Sunday. Go ahead.
The parable of the wandering sheep. See that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I tell you that the angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven. What do you think? If a man owns 100 sheep, and one of them wanders away, will he not leave the 99 on the hills and go to look for the one that wandered off? And if he finds it, truly I tell you, he is happier about that one sheep than the 99 that did not wander off. In the same way, your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish.
He shared that with me, and I stepped out and I saw a community fractured and lost in grief. And I realized at that moment, this is my home. And I want to remain here and serve that next generation. And as a community, I pray that that would be our vision. What a wonderful city we live in. Let's make it the same for generations to come. May God bless you. May God bless the city of Thousand Oaks and its wonderful citizens. Thank you so much.